An unexpected chorus of voices shouts Robespierre down. He is stunned into silence.
Welcome to Watch Mojo, and today we're counting down our picks for notable instances where infamous people who caused major controversy, distress, and suffering got their just desserts.
And he must also have known that the iron rule he had once exerted over a now divided nation was becoming a distant memory.
Number 10. Clue Radio Station. The Beatles took the world by storm, amassing a huge fan base and leading John Lennon to make a playful comment saying they were bigger than Jesus.
Well, originally I was pointing out that fact in reference to England, that we meant more to kids than Jesus did, or religion at that time. I wasn't knocking it or putting it down, I was just saying it as a fact.
That statement led to boycotts throughout the southern United States. One of the most infamous took place in Texas, at what was then known as Clue Radio Station. They'd sworn off playing the band and took things a step further by hosting a bonfire to burn their records.
And they were burning Beatles records, Beatles posters and memorabilia of all kinds.
The turnout was large and even featured an appearance from a high-ranking official in the South Carolina chapter of the Ku Klux Klan. The day after the event, the station was struck by lightning, damaging equipment and injuring a staff member.
Well, a lot of people are good Baptists down here, and not to say anything against them, it's just that they feel everything about religion, they take it very personally.
Number 9. King Charles I. There's a reason he's regarded as one of the most hated monarchs in England's history.
He did believe in the divine right of kings. He believed he was placed there by God.
To many, King Charles attempted to exalt power over his constituents in any way possible. He believed he'd been handed his authority by a higher power, leading to him enforcing his own religious views and collecting taxes whenever he pleased. However, the Second English Civil War ended up being the final nail in his coffin.
But by now, the army and Oliver Cromwell thought Charles a tyrant who had to be removed.
Charles betrayed his own people by asking Scotland to invade England in order to reclaim the throne. That was the last straw for his people. He was tried for treason and sentenced to death, and on January 30th, 1649, he was beheaded in front of those he had once led.
Charles died bravely on the scaffold, impeccable courage, but that's no more than would be expected from any gentleman facing the block.
Number 8. Reinhard Heydrich. As a high-ranking member of Hitler's inner circle, Reinhard Heydrich was one of the men directly responsible for planning and carrying out the Holocaust. From founding a party designed to quash any resistance by way of arrest or death, to heading the committee that penned the infamous final solution, Heydrich did seemingly everything he could to make Hitler's regime all the more horrific. In 1942, his own reign of terror came to a close when a member of the Czech resistance threw a grenade at his car. It detonated at the wheel, critically injuring Heydrich and embedding shrapnel into his body. He spent the rest of his days in immense pain before finally succumbing to an infection just over a week later. Number 7. François L'Olonnais. He may not be the most well-known pirate in history, but his horrid character makes that all the more understandable. François L'Olonnais built himself up from indentured servant to vicious buccaneer. It all began in Tortuga when he and his men took a town captive and beheaded nearly every member of a crew sent to stop him. He prided himself on his torture methods, including one where he tightened a rope around captive skulls until their eyes popped out. During his expedition in Latin America, after crashing a stolen Spanish ship, he was captured by the Guna people. His last moments were reported to be especially heinous, with him being torn apart while still alive and thrown into a bonfire piece by piece. Number 6. Phalaris. Though it may not be verified, his cruelty has exceeded the limits of mere legend.
One of the most sadistic torture devices to come out of the ancient world was from the 6th century BCE in Sicily, known as the Brazen Bull.
In ancient Sicily, Phalaris ruled with an iron fist. He was known for his love of torture. One story goes that an inventor named Paralas presented his newest creation, a hollow bronze bull that pioneers could be locked inside and roasted alive. He even claimed that their screams would sound just like a cow's.
The Brazen Bull was specifically designed so that the screams of the person would actually almost sound musical to people's ears.
Phalaris then tricked Paralas into going inside and undergoing the torture so Phalaris could hear it for himself. He allegedly spared Paralas, only to have him thrown off a cliff. The bull remained in Phalaris' control until he was overthrown by Telemachus, who then reportedly forced the tyrant to become the device's final victim. Number 5. Saddam Hussein. As the 5th president of Iraq, he ruled the country with an iron fist.
Saddam Hussein had a certain straightforward, brutal efficiency as he propelled himself towards absolute control of Iraq, and he kept that power with the same heavy, often vicious hand.
As soon as Saddam Hussein came into power, he used his authority to rid his faction of any rivals that may have impeded him. And he didn't stop there. From igniting the Gulf War with Kuwait to enacting a genocide against the local Kurd population in northern Iraq, he showed no mercy.
The Kuwait invasion was to sow the seeds of Saddam's downfall, as powerful allies deserted him.
Similar standards were eventually applied to him. Following his capture in 2003, he was put on trial in his own country and found guilty. He was sentenced to death and hanged, all while people relentlessly insulted him. Reports suggest his corpse may have been stabbed or stomped on multiple times following his death, revealing just how much he was hated.
The verdict was predictable. Saddam was found guilty and sentenced to death by hanging.
Number 4, Oliver Cromwell. He initially rose to prominence for his role in the English Civil War and in King Charles I being dethroned.
Over the next 4 years, Cromwell's prestige grew dramatically. As Parliament's leading general, he suppressed radical elements in the army, while winning major victories in Scotland and Ireland.
Afterwards, Oliver Cromwell was named Lord Protector, and much like the man he'd overthrown, the power went to his head. His worst atrocities were committed in Ireland, where he stormed town after town and killed countless soldiers and regular citizens alike.
Oliver Cromwell was not a popular ruler. He was not only hated by royalists, but he was hated by the victims of the successive military coups that had brought him power.
He didn't see his comeuppance until well after his death in 1658. He had been given a proper burial at first, but when the monarchy was reinstated, that all changed. His body was exhumed and hung for hours. Once it was taken down, his head was removed and left on a pole, where it remained until at least 1684.
5 days later, the public hangman placed the 3 heads on spikes on the roof on the southern side of Westminster Hall. The irony was that they would gaze over the very courtroom where they had condemned King Charles to death.
Number 3, Muammar Gaddafi. Even with unfettered power, he still met a truly bitter end.
At the height of power, Gaddafi called himself Africa's King of Kings. Ronald Reagan called him the mad dog of the Middle East. Ruthless with his own people, reviled here for ordering the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland.
Throughout his multi-decade reign over Libya, Muammar Gaddafi did everything to make those in his country despise him. He opened fire on his own citizens just for protesting against him, triggering the Libyan civil war and leading to the deaths of thousands. Gaddafi saw his comeuppance in October of 2011 when a NATO bombing forced him to hide inside a drainage pipe from the local militia.
This is a Libya that for the first time in 42 years does not have to live in fear of Muammar Gaddafi. He is gone for good, and few, if any, are mourning his passing.
He was eventually found seriously injured, and the militia spared no pity. They ruthlessly assaulted him as his life slipped away, all while it was filmed for the world to see. It was a humiliating end to such a powerful dictator, showing just what he'd been reduced to.
They say they discovered him here just before 12 o'clock this afternoon. They pulled him out of the hole, and one fighter told me that Muammar Gaddafi said to him, "What did I do to you?"
Number 2, Maximilien Robespierre. At the onset of the French Revolution, he was a champion of the movement.
One man would rise to inspire the nation, to cast aside a reluctant king and a hated queen, and a new republic would be born in blood.
However, over time, Robespierre's positions became more radical. He set out to rid the movement of all of its perceived enemies, leading to a period known as the Reign of Terror, which resulted in tens of thousands of deaths.
The radical Jacobins, believing the young revolution is in danger of being sabotaged by traitors, are steering the revolution with more and more violent means.
As the leader of the National Convention, he likened himself to a godlike figure, a stance that would contribute to his swift downfall. After being arrested in 1794, he tried to take his own life, but only shattered his jaw. Soon after the injury, the execution took place. The bandage holding Robespierre's broken bone in place was ripped off, eliciting one last scream of pain from him before being beheaded.
On July 27, 1794, the guillotine comes down on the incorruptible.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Benito Mussolini. It makes sense that the founder of fascism would get a taste of his own cruelty.
They called him Il Duce. Since his march on Rome in 1922, Mussolini had governed Italy with billy clubs, nationalist slogans, and large-scale public works.
After being appointed Prime Minister of Italy in 1922, Benito Mussolini did everything he could to retain that power. He created a nation that followed one party, his own. He then took his evil to the global stage by conquering Ethiopia and joining the Axis powers.
For Italians, the hour of truth had come. For the past 2 decades, their leader had promised them glory. They could not imagine the scale of the defeats that lay in store.
Things came to a head in 1945 when he was captured. On April 28th, he and other fascists were executed. That night, their bodies were left to the public. Their corpses were defaced in various ways, with Mussolini's being beaten so much that he became unrecognizable. It was a violent end, signaling to other leaders at the time what may become of them.
We had only one desire, to start over and to forget. We didn't even want to talk about what had happened.
Which terrible person in history do you think got the ending they deserved? Let us know in the comments below.